So I want to welcome you to the foundlovestayinlove.com. This is Andrea, and for the listeners, I'm here with Stu, who's a good friend of mine, and I'm putting him on the hot seat. He's willing to be open about the male perspective on relationships and internet dating and dating. So to begin with, Stu, let's just tell the listeners, how old are you?
I'm 41.
41, and if you briefly just tell us a little bit about your relationship history. Have you been married or long-term relationships?
So I guess I started having sexual relationships when I was about 17, and if you like, started to have sort of girlfriends, and from that time I had probably 4 relationships, almost one after the other. Till I was about 26. So they were things that kind of, you know, a year or 2 years long each time, and you know, all singing, all dancing, sort of lived together and in love, and then sort of gradually fell apart or didn't work out for one reason or another. I could go into that on each individual one if you like.
No, it's okay.
And then I guess I kind of took a bit of a break after the last one, because it kind of involved an abortion and a pregnancy that she didn't want, and we didn't seem to feel we could handle, and so I was probably a bit kind of raw, and then, you know, gradually as your confidence returns, you start sort of dating and having a few dates, and had sporadic relationships really ever since.
So nothing serious?
Nothing that I'd say was a seriously committed relationship. It's just been single and having sort of sporadic involvements, sometimes lasting a night, sometimes lasting a couple of weeks, couple of months.
So you're seeing someone now?
Yeah, but it's a bit of a weird relationship, to say the least.
When did you start seeing her?
We met online, I think, about September
of last year. Okay.
And
so that means that's just over a year ago now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we exchanged messages, and you know, which was really pleasant, and gradually kind of arranged to meet up, and we met up. We had a quite raunchy and amazing first date, which was a bit crazy and teenage and giddy, and then I went away for some work, and we exchanged messages, and we were going to meet up, and then she decided she never wanted to see me again, on the basis that she didn't quite get what I did for a living, and she didn't want, you know, this intensity or really need anybody in her life. So from having this hot, sexy, giggly, lovely date, which was a bit intense and over the top as well, and I can see how it might have just sort of shocked her and kind of
So where is it at right now?
and then we didn't kind of. I went, okay, well, there's not a lot I can do. Well, I kind of went, well, I'd like to see you again. I'm sorry you feel like that or feel that way. But hey, I'll just give you some space. And then I got back in touch around Christmas to wish her a Merry Christmas and see how she was. And we had and we decided to go out, and we had a date in January, and that was a really nice date, and I had a little kiss at the end of the date, and it was a little bit more normal and less kind of pizzazz to it, but just really sweet date. And then again she kind of disappeared a little bit, which I'm starting to realise she does, and I couldn't really kind of get to see her again. And then we had another date a couple of months later, and again, and that was hot and steamy, and she kind of, we're basically having sex in the car, and she basically went, I don't want a boyfriend, do you want to be my fuck buddy? And it was like, I guess, I mean, at the time it was great, but I guess it's a strange one, because it was like, oh, okay, wow.
Is it unusual, do you think, to find women who are that direct?
Yeah.
Is it quite attractive?
Yes and no, really. I mean, I guess that the idea of a fuck buddy for guys is meant to be the perfect scenario or something. And when I tell other fellas, they're like, wow, you lucky sod.
So tell me a little bit more.
For me, it's a bit kind of limiting.
So tell me a little bit more about the idea of having a fuck buddy. Why do men say, wow, brilliant?
I think it's this idea that there's no commitment, and it's just sex, and so you've got this. It's less complicated, less complicated emotionally, or because there's no commitment involved, there's no compromise.
What do you mean by there's no compromise? Tell me more.
Well, if you're in a more committed relationship, then obviously to work as human beings, you have to and be open to communicate. You've got to. It's not necessarily all about you, is it? It's about the two of you, and your mutual health and happiness. Mm-hmm. So you're always, how can I say, in this kind of daft little world that blokes sometimes live in, they kind of, in a narrow way, say, oh yeah, I'd love to go out for a beer every night, and love to watch the football whenever I like, and I wouldn't have to sort the kids out, or make the tea, or wash up, or I could just live in a land of beer and takeaways, and sports punditry on the sofa. Yeah. And this woman would come in and satisfy me at the whenever I desire, but then leave without me having to massage her kind of her feelings or her ego, because it's all about me. Obviously that's a complete kind of dream illusion, because couldn't think of anything more horrible, or you'd be a mess within 3 months.
I don't understand if that's ideal. How could it be more horrible? If there's no commitment, you do what you want, it's great sex, no hassle from the woman. How could that be horrible? I'm a bit confused.
Yeah, I mean, I guess because I have had a long time on my own, there's kind of, that's a lot of space, you know. There's only so much of yourself you can really take, you know. One of the joys of life is that sharing, you know. Do you know, the one thing I didn't expect was for me to get upset. I thought about the interview,
yeah.
and at no point did I think about getting upset.
Well, I think it's wonderful, because sometimes some of the women that come and see me sometimes don't really get to appreciate a male perspective on how they might feel being single and wanting to be in a relationship, and that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So it's great for me to actually, you know, see these feelings come up and see these tears, because those who are listening won't be able to witness what I'm able to witness right now.
Yeah, it's one of these things you kind of, you know, I did want to set my I did want to set my life up on my terms, but you know, I mean, when I was a kid, I grew up watching black and white films and happy endings and you know, romances, and you know, I'm a hopeless romantic, and I guess it wasn't in the script that at 41 I'd still be on my own, or that I'd have a prolonged period of kind of being single and coping with life on my own, and not just that, I think that word sharing is the word that kind of suddenly made me aware of something that I'm missing, you know. And you know, I could say that you know, the deep loneliness and aloneness, not just loneliness but an aloneness that is, you know, quite crushing. So,
I mean, with other interviews I've talked about age, and a lot of women are, you know, there's a big thing about turning 40, and it's like a really big thing, certainly for women, especially if they've not had children. They want to have children. And what I've been learning also, that it can be quite a difficult process for men as well, especially if they're single.
Yeah, I mean, it's different, I'll put it like that. I mean, if you'd have asked me when I turned 40 how did I feel, I felt great, and I, you know, I've definitely worked hard at my own personal development and at you know, accepting myself really on for who I am. Turning 40 felt great. I felt like rock and roll. Just really felt really confident, and then you know, had a knockback, I guess, from falling for somebody like I haven't felt for 15 years.
So I want to hear a little bit more about that you fell for someone.
Yeah.
And you hadn't had that experience for 15 years.
No, I kind of, you know, had feelings for people in that time.
But nothing as intense,
nothing to rock my world and surprise the shit out of me, to, you know, for want of better words. You know, I really, knot in my stomach, can't think of anything else, can't eat, can't sleep, can't focus, absolute goo goo gaga.
And this is great, this is really great for me to hear, and those who are also listening, is that I don't think we get the impression often enough of what it's like for a man to fall in love. Or we believe that ideally they just want free love, free sex, and that's it. But from what I'm understanding and what I'm hearing now is that you do want to fall in love, and you want to have all those feelings and have butterflies and somersaults in your belly and go goo goo gaga, and that's wonderful.
Well, in theory it is.
Well, yeah. But it kept you, it kept you interested in her, and that didn't, she just wanted to be best friends, and I mean, in so many respects we're completely kind of have different crazy really. We had different values, different kind of politics, different ways of seeing life really, but you can't, there's something about us, she was just sorry I was staring into the distance thinking of it. There's something about her, she was just vibrant, attractive, funny, intelligent, sort of delightful kind of person. But then at times she could be, I could see her be cruel, willfully cruel, and very selfish, and it killed me, because she'd go, I love being with you, but you're not really tall enough. Right, okay.
Or you're, and she is quite a shallow person. It's crazy, but
what I'm intrigued by is
it just seemed, and this is something that if we go back to the idea of being a bit older, is that we tend to think of men as being superficial, or making superficial value judgments, and yet when I read profiles or when I talk to people, there seems to be that same kind of superficiality.
People or women?
I'd say both. I mean, I would say both. I wouldn't. I'd never say, oh, women are always like that. This whole, women are from Venus and men are from Mars kind of thing. I hear the same things coming out of men's mouths as I hear coming out of women's mouths. I see the same thing,
So what's the problem with that? What's the problem really?
It's limiting, it's narrowing, it's like...
If she says her preference is for taller guys?
Yeah, I suppose there's no problem really.
Right.
There's no problem. I mean, that's if that's your preference. I'm not sure that you're necessarily gonna get longevity out of making your value judgments on that kind of physical preference.
So what should... Okay then, so let me hear about...
It's like...
Say for example on internet dating, what do you suggest that women make judgments on? If they're going to... If they want a long-term life partner or a husband,
well,
what should they be looking at?
I mean, at the end of the day, if you've got a physical type and it means that much to you, then that's going to be a criteria. Just in a way, I guess if I see that, I shouldn't be upset or offended. I should just walk on to the next, or click onto the next profile. But I guess that I just find it just feels not really very human. Even the whole internet dating thing, I found very a kind of unpleasant and troubling process, really.
So before we move on, I just want to make sure we get this question answered, because
I know, because I'm kind of realising that I know that it's kind of says more about me than it does. I think if you have that criteria, but it's physical criteria, I would suggest that's not necessarily the strongest basis.
So what is then? Tell me what is.
Well,
because if I've got women who, and I have to say this to you, Stu, it doesn't matter how tall they are, they want a taller guy. It's such a big thing for a woman, and I don't think it's so actually. There's something kind of quite emotional about it. It really means something to us, a taller guy.
I get you.
And with that aside, with the women who come to me, I coach them to have more of an open mind, and I say to them, well, if they're looking for something long term and serious, how important is height, and what qualities should they be looking for? So I want to hear from you, what should they be looking for if they can put aside height for a long-term relationship with a man? Okay,
I'm not sure I ever like the word should, because for the purposes of this, I guess from my point of view, if you're going to spend time, any length of time, with another human being, you need to have the ability to communicate. If you can't talk about life, it's going to be a long journey.
not a pleasant one.
Well, just a difficult one, because it's open to misunderstanding, isn't it? And misunderstanding, and this can create frustration, resentment, self-questioning. I mean, it's a partnership, I guess. I mean, we're not just like roommates or in the same space. We're connecting on an intimate level in every way. You're sharing your body, you're sharing your mind.
So you want a woman to share how she feels and what's going on for her? Yeah. I think
that's great. It's great. It's great. I love women. I really love women. I love. I love their connection to life. I love their connectivity.
So that's really
to their emotions, because that allows me to connect to my emotions. Life's, it's so profound, and that's what the sharing is. That's the joy of it, that's the beauty of it.
So it's really wonderful for us to hear that there's a man here who wants us as women to share how we feel, what's going on with them. even if it's sometimes not great stuff. But you know what I'm discovering from the men that I talk to is that they do want to know about how we're feeling, how women are feeling.
I think the thing is that I think if we talk about things that I find frustrating, I find it frustrating when a woman wants you to be in touch with your emotions, but just don't go being vulnerable and cry and all that. Be in touch with my emotions, and then you go and fuck off and put up the shelves. And that kind of feeling that I get, and the kind of pragmatism of how they want to go about their lives, and it's like sometimes they lose sight, it seems to me, that I can't fulfil the role to the exact criteria, you know.
So do you feel under pressure to be an idea of a man?
Yeah.
And what's the idea that you think that we're holding as women?
Well, for instance, you know, I've chosen to do quite an artistic job. You know, I haven't necessarily, you know, my politics have always been, and my sort of sense of spirit, my spiritual sense of self, have not necessarily been to have the career, you know, or certainly make financial, sort of a financial assessment of how my sort of working life at the top of the agenda. It's always been about the need to express myself, have freedom of expression, to develop, you know, psychologically, develop as a person, I guess, you know. So I seem to be made consciously aware that I suppose, I don't know, I always think it's like a nest building kind of feeling that maybe women have unconsciously, and so they look for that person who can provide that stability. And
so you don't feel as if you have a chance because you're not pursuing this?
Yeah, I guess that I just, that hasn't been a big deal for me. I would have loved I would have loved the opportunity to kind of share a house and aspire to have things, but I'm not a very material person. You know, you know, it's like I've come into your flat and it's beautiful, and I think, oh, there's some there's some lovely, what a lovely living space, and then I kind of go to mine and I'm quite happy with it, but I very rarely see it because I'm kind of internally involved with my experience. You know, I just don't see material things very clearly at all, you know. So
do you think, going back to what you think women are looking for in men, so you're saying they're looking for men who are more career focused,
yeah,
who can bring in the bacon,
yeah, or where there's stability, I think an unconscious desire for stability. You know, I've always been a little bit emotional. I'm an emotional fella, you know, and I think that I don't think women really want that. Okay. I think they want it in terms of themselves, mm-hmm. And the man to connect with their emotions, and for that to shape how a man responds to them. But for me to actually kind of be in touch with my emotions isn't kind of very manly. Right, so have you found that women have had a problem with that in your experience, or you have a personal problem with that? I think women have a problem with that. Can you give me an example of how that's been demonstrated to you? How have they shown that they've not been happy with you showing your emotions about you?
And what would you like? How would you like it to be different?
I just have felt rejected. I can't give you. I mean, I remember. Oh, this is a strange one. It's a strange one, and it was kind of one of the things that used to really make me feel disconnected from. When we were, when I found back when I was 26 and found that my girlfriend then was pregnant, and we were kind of trying to make this big decision because it didn't seem that it was coming through as a natural decision for either of us. And I think it was because we were questioning our commitment to each other. It was a relationship that was born out of friendship, and then it had kind of grown into a relationship. And I think there was always a question of whether this relationship could sustain through having a child. Mm-hmm. And whether we could sustain our connection, and whether that was whether it was the right time or the right relationship to bring a child into the world. And one of the things she used to do was sometimes she used to like pat me on the top of the head and go, "Oh, pot," like this. "Oh," like a stew pot. Yeah. She used to call me pot sometimes, and she used to like go, "Oh, pot," mm-hmm. like that. There. And I kind of thought, what a condescending, patronising, insensitive thing to do when somebody's obviously trying to share their emotions.
So from what I'm understanding, there's not an appreciation from women of a man showing his emotions.
Not unless it corresponds to being in terms of them and their relationship. Yeah. If it's in terms of them and their relationship, then it's serving a purpose. Yeah. If not, it's just you're like got to snap out of it or grow up, or it's like a woman doesn't. I don't think is uncomfortable with a partner to have a relationship with the child inside of them, i.e. the playful, silly one, the part of them that just wants to mess about, or feels lazy, or has a tantrum, or is scared, or is upset, or basically is vulnerable, is weak. I think sometimes when they see weakness, they think, well, a man shouldn't be weak, mm-hmm. In that way. But if it's in terms of our relationship, in terms of me, then that's not vulnerable or weak. That's conscientious. That's a positive. Whereas if it is the child inside of them who's afraid or scared or angry, or resentful, then that's a failing. And that's not something that's very attractive.
Okay. So going back to about how women might, or what women want from a man, what about being a provider? And so if you're dating, who pays? Initially, who pays for the first date?
Who pays for the first date?
Yeah.
Well, it usually it kind of is. How can I say? It's kind of halvesies. What's the word?
Going Dutch.
Dutch, yeah. So it's going Dutch, but with slightly maybe a drink or a dessert or a ticket, whatever on top. So it's kind of like.
So when you're taking a woman out on a date, you go Dutch.
We'd kind of go Dutch, but then say I might, if it's not quite. I'll get this, that right. kind of thing. Just as not a sweetener or anything, just as a token,
a token? What do you mean?
I guess I'm trying to say, you know, I've enjoyed it. This is great. I want to treat you.
So
So it might just be a drink. No, I'll get these. You know, we might have gone halves all the way through. I mean, it might just go Dutch and it might just split nicely. And if it's that way, then that's fine. But if if there's an extra drink, or let's go for that, or I'll get that.
So what I'm understanding is that when you as a man want to demonstrate that you like her, you will want to pay a bit more.
Yeah.
So you want to show that's really important. So I want kind of women to see some things that what a man will demonstrate to them, saying, actually, I'm interested in you for something a bit more, whatever that more is.
Yeah. But it's interesting because this lady that I kind of went off the deep end over, she was a very wealthy lady, and so I would find myself being treated by her, and I was like, yeah, that's fine. You know, I mean, it was just an unusual situation. I mean, my feeling is that, you know, if I was kind of wealthier and I could treat people, I'd treat people left, right and centre, whether they were men, women or children, just because it's nice to treat people. And it's nice to be generous.
So
it's pleasant for me to be generous.
So what about when you've met someone, say, as an example, on online dating, who asks who out next if you're interested? How soon you've had a date, you thought she was amazing, how soon would you ask her out again?
Well, it's kind of only through that internet dating process, which is was for me a horrid process, because
and the question was how soon.
I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. How soon would you ask them out?
I've got a little kind of bee in my bonnet about the whole internet dating.
Yeah.
But okay, so it'd be about 2 or 3 messages, about three messages, I guess.
No, so you've said goodbye. Do you say goodbye and leave it, or how soon would you ask her out again if you thought, I want to see this woman again?
Oh, if I wanted to see her again?
Yeah.
Oh. We'd kind of say it on the night.
So we or you? I'm asking, I want to know what you do as a man.
If I wanted to see them?
Yeah.
I'd say on the night.
Right.
You know.
Because some women...
But I'd say, let's do this sometime. I wouldn't want to put pressure on her and like...
But you'll make it clear that you're interested, so...
Yeah.
You're initiating...
Yeah.
To see her further.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I've had women who've felt a bit confused that they've gone on the internet dates, they're doing internet dating, they've had a wonderful time.
Yeah.
And they haven't heard from the guy, say 1 day, 2 days, and I'm...
and that can happen as well, and that can be because, you know, I mean,
what I'm trying to say is, if a man is interested, he's pretty much going to ask her out there and then on the spot, certainly within a day, a couple of days.
Yeah, but also, men can be a bit stupid, you know, and a bit kind of nervous or unsure. You know, it's not always crystal clear. You know, I mean, I've had relationships with women that have been, you know, I had somebody who I'd spent 9 days with, who didn't understand why I didn't want to leave Manchester for Margate. Apart from the 250 miles, the complete change in my life, and taking on board her primary school age son. And I was like, I guess what I'm saying is that it's like, right, so this is easy. Like, for instance, you say they'd ask you out there and then. You can be absolutely like, wow, but I don't want to mess this up.
But you will ask, so
Yeah,
you're not going to leave it.
ask. You're not going to leave it.
But that's what I'm trying to find. You're not going to leave it 2 weeks.
No.
That's what I'm trying to say.
No, not unless you've got. Not unless you're an asshole.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're interested, you're pretty much going to. Doesn't matter if it sounds casual. What I'm trying to say is you're going to initiate further contact. Pretty much on that night, you'll initiate something.
Yeah.
You wouldn't leave it, not necessarily even a day.
I don't know, I've seen where I've left it a day or 2 or 3 days thinking I don't want to, I know it sounds stupid,
Yeah.
well, I'm saying it, and I'm kind of thinking, it's not like you're trying to be cool, you're just trying to not be too hot.
Okay.
Because I think sometimes that can be a bit, you can find a woman thinking this is a bit too much.
So you'd have no contact, then you would just
hot
leave
and heavy.
it for
Just
about 2 or 3 days.
Maybe just send a text.
So there will be contact.
I don't know. Sometimes no. You're kind of thinking, I don't want to be. Do I want to? What am I doing? Oh shit! Oh, I've left it a day now. Should I leave it another day? Well, honestly, I mean, I'm not great at this.
Yeah.
Else I probably wouldn't be single if I was you. So I'm willing to say I've made a complete horlicks of that whole process. I'd love to say yes, you would, that night you would be like da-da-da. But you've also got to remember, we're struggling with issues of self-esteem, we're struggling with issues of like previous rejections, or we've got an emotional kind of connection to this process as men, and we get it wrong.
Tell me how you get it wrong as men.
Kind of just what I'm saying, we don't know when's hot and when's cold, we don't know when to kind of you stop being natural. You get those great times where you're just so natural with somebody, and just the way you get together is just so relaxed and natural, and it's like it's just you're swimming in the same pool. Life itself kind of has thrown you together, and it's key, and the universe seems to be all conspiring to make it just smooth and wow. And then other times, like I had to go away for 5 days just when I'd met somebody.
But what you would do is communicate
text,
that.
yeah,
See,
you
this
text.
This is what I'm trying to say. Regardless of you or any other guy's insecurities, lack of confidence, unsure, you will stay in touch. You will communicate. Yes. That's all I'm getting at.
Yes.
So this is what I'm trying to share women, and when they say I've not heard from him, I would guess, and I would say, well, I don't think he's that interested.
Yeah, I would probably say.
And that's what I want to get at.
Yeah, you would, because you'd be. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Because what I'm trying to show women is like, when a man is interested, there really isn't a confusion. You will communicate, even if you're going away. You're going to communicate that.
Yeah.
You're going to initiate some kind of further contact. It's very clear that will happen.
Yeah. If you're not doing that, then I'd say it's all revolving around you.
Exactly.
And they should be already connecting with you just on that very.
Yeah.
Just from a point of friendship and a courtesy, and
yeah.
If you have a nice time with somebody, you want to be courteous and friendly, and already, you're sort of setting up that communication. You don't want separation.
Yeah, exactly. So some of the women I know will want to, if they haven't heard from a guy, they'll want to contact him to find out what's going on.
Right.
Or they will ask a guy out straight away.
Right.
They'll initiate it.
Yeah.
And I go back to, well, let's go back to if they haven't heard from a guy 3, 4, 5 days.
Okay.
Is it worth a woman contacting him?
Well, if it's me, yeah. I mean, to be honest, I don't know a lot of guys on the scene. Do you know what I mean? If you, so to speak, I don't know a lot of single guys.
And is it worth her, if she had not heard from the guy for 4 or 5 days, is it worth her contacting him?
Well, you're probably banging your head against a brick wall.
Yeah.
But never, I'm eternally optimistic. I never say never, but be prepared for disappointment.
Yeah.
As long as you're not trying to will it. I mean, I've just spent 6 months banging my head against a brick wall, so I can understand when you want something or when you feel something, that it can be quite difficult to switch those feelings or that desire off.
It's a clear message. If you've not heard from the guy, and not text, I mean, when you... Yeah,
I mean, Crikey, it doesn't take Hercule Poirot to work it out, really. And... I mean, look, it's a bit of a cliche, but the older you get, the kind of more baggage you've got, and kind of more scars, really. So it can be pretty, we can feel pretty kind of scared, and it's a difficult old thing, it seems to me, getting together with people as you get older. We've also got more expectations, and we're more set in our ways. They're all cliches, but it just appears to me that that's the case. And that includes when you're in relationships, and that's when you've really got to kind of be really conscious of how you're communicating and whether you're being honest. So what do you but I guess what I was trying to link it to what you were getting at then, and I guess what I was saying is, in the beginnings, guys definitely, they do want to fall and they want to go hook, line and sinker. And they do want to, I mean... and
a woman's going to know. She's going to know if a guy's interested.
I hate talking about guys, full stop, because I'm aware there are some assholes out there. There are some assholes out there.
And I'm not talking about that, I'm just talking about...
But from my point of view, all I'll say is I would love nothing more than going out with somebody and... bluebirds on my shoulder and holding hands and walking and going shopping whilst the novelty's still there. I even quite like going shopping because you can't help but get off on the enthusiasm, as long as it's not interminable for like hours, as long as it's kind of whilst it's still jolly, but it's that sharing, and you want to share. You want to, you want to see them enjoy food. You want to watch the film together. You want to see the music. You want to breathe the fresh air in the park with the trees. And most of all, I want to talk. I want to talk about, So, what I'd suggest is, if there isn't that contact, then you haven't got somebody wanting to engage with that process. Now, if you're not looking for that process, and you maybe just want a bit of interest or flirtation or excitement or just something, then maybe you want to try a bit harder, and you might put yourself on the line. But if you're after all the whole 9 yards, as I'd like, and the romance and everything, then usually guys are pretty proactive.
Yeah, exactly.
And
they're very clear.
Yeah, because if they're feeling it,
yes,
they're going to act on it.
Yes. So there's no confusion, because I've had one woman who...
They will walk past your house and pretend they're not walking past your house. It's exactly the same as... At 41, I'm exactly the same as I was when I was 12.
Yeah. So I've got an example here of one woman who, and she's happy for me to share this, who went and met a guy on the internet, had a wonderful time. He asked her out again. He invited her to his place on the second date,
Right.
which she did. Maybe that was a week later. So she went on a Friday night, and on the Saturday she stayed in the same bed. They didn't have sex, but they had some fun. His sister was coming over, and he introduced this girl to his sister. They went out, introduced her to his friends, had a wonderful time. The sister went home. He drove this lady all the way back to the home. Before then they were talking about future plans, and then as in for another date, and then he left it saying, so what are you doing this week? And she says, I'm actually busy at work and blah blah blah. And he said, have a nice week. And she's never heard from him since, and she found it very confusing.
Well, that's terrible, isn't it? That's gutting, because you're starting to venture forward. You know, you're starting to venture forward in your mind and you've made a real connection, and you've connected to him on so many kind of ways that are intimate. You know, between friends and family, that's a real opening and sharing. So to suddenly have that, you know, taken away is really hurtful and devastating. You know, it's tough to take without explanation, because of course then you haven't got closure either. At least if you have an explanation, or somebody goes, well actually I've got this, you know, this person, or I'm struggling with this, but to not have any closure or explanation is no fun at all. That's horrible.
Well, so what I've been showing her is, again, about the clarity of things, and that if he was genuinely interested in seeing her again, highly unlikely he would say, have a nice week, and no contact since then.
Yeah. I mean, not knowing the relationship, I guess I could see how, as much as you say that, it's that clarification. I can see what you're saying. What you're saying is there is a clear message there.
Yes, it's very clear.
You know, I would say as far as letting go, it would be healthy to let go. But I could see how it would be difficult to reconcile yourself without an explanation. Even if that explanation is,
and regardless, I'm saying you're still wanting something. You're still wanting an explanation.
And I agree.
So that's your problem.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is life isn't like that.
Yeah.
So I'm showing women how to read clear messages.
Yeah, and that's a clear message.
That's a clear message.
Yeah.
There's no confusion.
There's no
reason for her to call him up saying what's going on, or do you fancy doing this?
Yeah, he could have, whether he's broke his neck and he's dead in a ditch, or whether he's seeing somebody else, or whatever.
Yeah.
There is a message there.
Yes.
And it's. And that's life.
Yes.
Sometimes that's just life.
Yeah.
And it is difficult to reconcile yourself, but them's the breaks.
Yeah.
You know, I mean.
And what I'm trying to do is to show women how to make it easier for them in the dating and the relationship world, because it's that emotional attachment and that confusion, which is what's painful.
Well, I mean, I've just been through it, so and there was a clear message that I was refusing to listen to for 6 months.
Yeah. And that's the pain.
And there was a clear message from me that I was refusing to listen to. It wasn't just a clear message from her; it was a clear message from me as well, because I knew that this was unhealthy. And I knew, but I was kind of clinging to that thing that I wanted.
Yes.
Yeah, I want it. It's the child inside, the child that says, I want that, I will have it. And actually, when when the adult in you kind of asserts itself and says, "Them's the breaks, move on."
Yeah.
It doesn't even reflect on me, really.
Yeah.
But I can also say that that feeling, I deal with loads of issues of rejection, really, and that's because I'm kind of taking my cues from people around me rather than myself. So I'm kind of looking to them for acceptance rather than looking for acceptance from myself. And at times I'm allowing the child to take control. So I'm having to kind of let the adult take the lead at the moment. And so one of the things was to disengage from that relationship. And not say, "Oh, it's me, it's all it's because I'm too short," or I'm it's actually just that's what she wanted and this is what I want, and they're two different things, and so that's life. And let's move on, and I'll swim along and see if there's somebody that does connect to me on that intimate level.
And then it's
who knows what the universe
can still be painful, of course, and there's clarity there.
Yeah, absolutely. But I was going not but, and that is a good thing. When you start doing that, that's an empowering thing.
Yes.
It's a bit like with my fuck buddy. At first, and at times I feel I'm quite upset because we've met a couple of times since. It's literally, and the last time we kind of had this lovely massage. She one of her jobs is as a masseur, and she never gets a massage. And way back in the day, I did a massage qualification, so I gave her a massage, and I probably admit that I was looking for something more as well, but I love massage. I love it. Oh, fantastic! I could quite happily. Anyhow, it got a bit hot and steamy, and we ended up having sex, and then she was tired, and she just went, "Oh, I'm going to bed now," and I went picking up the message. You go, "Okay, shall I go?" And she's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay," and I skulked off into the night. And seemingly that would be great for most blokes.
But what I'm hearing is that the tables have turned. She's calling the shots.
Well, what it was I just felt rejected. I'm fine with her doing kind of what she wants and that. And she's very clear. And I can't kind of knock her for her transparency. It's not. Women always call in the shots. What do you mean? I'm
glad we can hear that.
Women always call in the shots.
I'm glad we can hear that because we don't. I think
Christ
we disempower
almighty.
ourselves way too much.
Always call in the shots. It's like.
And I still hear she's really defining what she wants. She's very clear about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think all it was that's what she wanted, and whereas me, I'd probably have quite liked to kiss and a cuddle and to share the warmth of our bodies and just. And I'm not saying that I want a relationship because she's made it clear that that's not what she wants. And to be quite honest. Kind of how our relationship and friendship has developed, that's not what I want really now. In the beginning it might have been, but I've adapted. But I guess I just thought it was a bit brutal. And I was probably my heart was still pitter-pattering as I was walking off.
Isn't that part of the intrigue and interest? Yeah,
but it's a bit boring for me. I'm probably a bit, it's a bit...
And you go back?
Well, I haven't really. I haven't. I kind of. I will at some point. But we went and watched the cinema and watched the film, and that was fine. I actually. I can see it as a kind of a thing that will blow hot and blow cold, and then maybe blow out altogether. But it's a thing, and it's not necessarily my heart's desire, but it's fun and it's nice. And she's not trying to be nasty or anything. She's just being really clear and controlled, and that's fine. You know, it's fine. It's good. Right. It's okay. It's just different. It's different.
And on that note, I'd like to thank you, Stu.
My pleasure. It's been emotional.
For coming in and doing this interview with me, and I hope that you guys have gained some kind of insight or just curiosity and intrigue about what it can be like for a man sometimes, and his journey as he seeks relationships and loving, caring relationships for himself. And that men do have feelings, despite what we women might think sometimes. That they do go through it as well, the emotional turmoil, and that they do want commitment. And then when they do want that woman, they're very clear about it. They will let her know. So thank you for listening. If you want more information, please go to my website, findloveandstayinlove.com. And up until next time, I'll speak to you then. Bye bye.